Able to see him. Here's the pass. Oh, what a catch! Leaping into the air and pulling it down is T Higgins. Burrow facing pressure. Goes over the top. Wide open is Chase. And he splits the defenders for the touchdown. Cincinnati kid, Hubbard's got a convoy, chased by Andrews, at the 30, the 20, he will score!
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Mon, let me ask you something, man. Are you over the hangover? Or are we on to the Bills? Are you still like me and you're still just reminiscing on such a great win that we had on Sunday?
I have watched that game on NFL Game Plus 3 times. I've worked a lot. I've worked 2 straight days at the fire department, and during the downtime, I just loaded up the game and watched it on my tablet. I'm still excited about it. It was a quality win. It's the best our Bengals have looked all year, and I'm just so excited for these final 10 games because it's go time. It's absolutely go time right now.
It is go time. Just want to welcome all of our listeners in the chat right now. Make sure you comment. Let us know how you guys are feeling. Mon, you're right. This is a big week, right? And really from here on out, there's a lot of big weeks coming up for this Bengals team. I think I tweeted it out yesterday. The next 6 games, Mon, 6 AFC teams, 2 divisional games, 4 of those at home. This is the time, right? I mean, this is the time for the Bengals to make that big push and really take back over not just the North, but the entire AFC.
Absolutely. The way they played last week, it's just refreshing. Joe Burrow is 100%. As Tony Romo said late in that game, this offense is going to be a problem for everybody in the NFL. Stay healthy. Keep on playing. We should be favored in 6 remaining home games that we have. I'm not worried about the games at Paycor. The Bengals are hard to beat there. We have some tough road games. We're going to have to go in, and I think with this healthy Joe Burrow, I think we're going to show up. The Raven game, the Chief game, the Jaguar game, all tough games. All those teams have 6 wins. I think we can go in and steal a couple of them.
Absolutely. Again, a lot of season left to play. A lot of big news today. A lot of big news in Bengaldom. First of all, Joe Burrow wins AFC Player of the Week, which, again, I think all of us knew was going to be the case. He had just a lights out, almost a perfect game against, you could argue, the best defense in the NFL. 87.5 completion percentage, 283 yards, almost 135 passer rating, 3 touchdowns. Mon, this is Joe's first of this year, but 6th of his career. What an incredible game Joe Burrow had. And again, like you said, you've watched the game a couple times since. What really stuck out to you about the way Joe Burrow just really carried this football team against an incredibly good defense, possibly the best defense the Bengals are going to see all year?
Well, we've talked about Joe Burrow so much, his leadership skills, he's just such a fiery leader. He makes everybody around him better. I don't think we talk enough about his athleticism. We saw that, how he ran for 40 plus yards. You can see he's healthy. He's a good athlete. I'm not saying he's a Lamar Jackson, but he's good. The biggest thing from last Sunday is right there, 87.5% completion percentage. Some of the passes he threw were perfect passes. They had to be, because if they weren't, they were going to get intercepted or picked. The pass to Tyler Boyd, the first touchdown, beautiful throw. Obviously, he threw another one to Boyd in between 3 defenders. That was just perfect. And then, the big one, the Jamar Chase, where he toe taps on the sideline there. just unbelievable accuracy. He's a total package, and I'm just so glad he's healthy because right now, as I said a few minutes ago, these final 10 games, man, it is go time, and I feel so good about what's about to happen for the Bengals.
Absolutely. I love what Culture Reject said. Burrow showing off in front of Montana. Absolutely. He did. And Ace talked about it last week on our show a little bit. He mentioned it, how all those 49ers Super Bowl teams were there in person to watch Joe Burrow absolutely dissect that 49ers defense, Mom. Really quick, our guys, Ace and Zim, they posted this on Twitter. 26 million people tuned into that game. It was not only the highest of the week, but it was the highest of a week 8 game in 25 years. You talked about this on the show last week. The Bengals not only dismantled this 49ers team and really took their soul, but they did it in front of 26 million people.
Yeah, the 4 o'clock games, the 4:25 games, they're basically a primetime game. It's a national. It's not primetime. It's a national audience. It's it's like the marquee game of that, of the early games, not counting Sunday night and Monday night. So we knew that 80% of the country was going to get that, and for the Bengals to put on a show, people that normally don't see the Bengals, I was getting texts from friends that go, "Wow, man, your Bengals look good." Because they were forced to watch it. Okay. And it was just great. I'm glad they showed up. And what a relief, Jake. How many times in the past when the Bengals had the spotlight on them, they crumbled. They absolutely crumbled. Under Marvin Lewis, I love Coach Lewis. Coach Lewis was great what he did to this organization, but his primetime record was really poor. And every time the Bengals, I remember the schedules would come out, we'd look at the primetime games, we're like, oh, those are losses. Not anymore. Not anymore. The Bengals are primetime players.
They are. They are. I love what Unknown said. He said, I love watching the Bengals win, but man, when are those Ravens going? Trust me, Unknown, the Ravens are going to implode. It is coming. We know it's coming. Lamar Jackson, 1-3 in playoff games. The guy cannot win the big game. It is coming. Trust me. This Bengal team is battle tested. They are battle tested, unlike the Baltimore Ravens. Mon, just some quick PFF grades from this 49ers game for our Bengals. Joe Burrow, number 1 on offense with 88.6. That is incredible, Mon. That is incredible. Jamar Chase, 79.5. Joe Mixon, 75. Trenton Irwin coming in at 74.7. And Jonah Williams, Mon, 72.3. We did not talk about Jonah last week, and we should have, because Jonah played his ass off on Sunday. Hopefully, good things to come. What did you think about Jonah Williams' performance?
Listen, I've said this numerous times. I have people throwing receipts at me on Twitter. I was very critical of Jonah Williams, and he has really done well at right tackle. I'm glad to be wrong. It's one of those situations where, hey, the better he plays, it's good for the Bengals. I didn't want to be right. I wasn't a big fan of his, but guess what? I'll gladly admit I was wrong. He's played really well. He's made it really tough for the Bengals because the Bengals, there's a lot of talk about what's going to happen in the offseason. Who are they going to franchise? Yes. Are they going to try to sign him? Because he's earning a big paycheck. It's a good problem to have because, he's playing well, and that helps our team, the Bengals, and I'm glad he is.
I'm glad he is too. And again, I was going to talk about that as a perfect lead into it. It really makes the offseason going to be very interesting if Jonah keeps playing the way he is, because you can't, if this offensive line is gelling like I think they will be at the end of the year, it's going to be hard to let Jonah walk. And I can't believe we're talking about that right now, but it could be a possibility. Defensively, Mon, again, defense, just an incredible job all night. The top grades, Mike Hilton with a 91.7, which was actually the highest grade for any defensive back in week 8. Trey Hendrickson, 89.5. Logan Wilson, 73.4, and Zach Carter rolling in at number 4 with a 70.6, and then Jordan Battle with a 68. Mon, talk about these defensive guys really quick. And what are you taking away from these grades? I mean, obviously the top 2, we know how well they played. But what about those other guys on that list?
You know what? Everybody you named on there played great. The linebackers are really stood out. They had 2 great, huge interceptions. The Pratt interception, to me, turned the game because San Francisco could have easily scored on that drive, but that play that should have been a 90-yard touchdown. If he didn't run out of bounds, he would have scored on that play. But
that's the truth, yeah.
Yeah, and the statistics. I listened to a podcast today. They're a little critical about all the yards the Bengals gave up. They need to understand something. The 49ers are playing catch up. The final 2 plays of the game, the Bengals are just sitting there waiting for the clock to run out. The 49ers had 66 yards or 67 yards passing on the final 2 plays. And, they're playing catch up. So the defensive yardage was a little skewed. Did they give up some explosive plays earlier in the game? They did. They gave up some explosive plays. But overall, they played well. The defensive line is great. I love that 5-man front. What was their game plan against 49ers? Stop the run. And they did. They did a good job.
That's right. Absolutely. Let's talk about Trey Hendrickson real quick because, again, I don't think we talk about it enough. This guy, Mon, is having a career year right now. Top 3 in sacks in the NFL. Right now, Mon, he is the 2nd-rated pass rusher to win rate for PFF. Myles Garrett, number 1 at 26.3. Trey Hendrickson, number 2 at 23.7. That is so impressive. Listen to the list that he is on. He is number 2 on. Garrett at 1, Hendrickson at 2, Nick Bosa at 3 with a 23.1, Micah Parsons at 4 with a 22.6, and Dexter Lawrence at 5 with a 22.5. That's a pretty impressive list, Mon. Again, I don't think we talk enough about how good Trey Hendrickson really is.
Yeah, I said it before. I have one frame jersey at my house, and it's Trey Hendrickson. That's what I think of him. He's amazing. He's the best free agent signing the Bengals have ever had. I was really worried because I thought he had a potential significant injury because the way he was favoring that foot. Came back in and played. He had the day off today. I guess just veteran rest day. He's relentless, and he's the key to that defense. I could see him getting 16, 17 sacks this year. Easy.
I think without a doubt he's going to be somewhere between 16 and 70. Hooday, guys. Hooday, everybody out there. Thanks for tuning in. Real quick, Mom, before we move on to the trade deadline, what happened today with the trade, what happened yesterday with the trade deadline? Let's talk a little bit. I want everybody right now is jumping on the Bengal bandwagon, which we've seen the last 2 years, right? Everybody, the first couple of weeks, everybody's like, oh, it's the Bengals, they're back. And then by about week 6 or 7, now everybody's back on the Bengal bandwagon, and they're, the team to beat in the AFC, which I think they are. But on Colin Hurd's show, he put up a stat, and I want to read this to you because this is so interesting to me. And when we talk about this stat, Mon, keep in mind, listeners, again, Joe Burrow, COVID, ACL, I can't think of the organ, appendectomy, with his spleen, calf injury. Again, a lot of issues going on in the offseason, but listen to this. This is so crazy. All right. In September, this is Joe Burrow's career, okay? I want everybody to listen to this and comment on this, guys. Let us know what you think about this. In Joe Burrow's career, in September, Joe Burrow is 6-7-1, okay? In September, Joe Burrow is 6-7-1. He has a 64.0 completion percentage, 248 yards a game. His touchdown to interception ratio, 24-11, and his passer rating at an 89.5. Now, besides the record at 6-7-1, all those stats still very impressive. Top 10 in the NFL, right? Listen to Joe Burrow in his career the rest of the season. Are you ready? Again, this is over his career. His win-loss is 27 wins, 15 losses, a 69, almost a 70% completion percentage, 277 yards a game, so right a little over 30 yards more a game he's averaging. His touchdown to interception ratio, Mon, this is insane. 77 touchdowns to 28 interceptions with 100.9, almost 101 passer rating. Is this going to be a trend for the rest of his career? I don't think so. I think injuries and stuff have to do with it, but I want to hear what you have to say, Mon. When I read you those stats, is that not insane when you think about the month of September and the rest of the season? Joe Burrow is, once he gets going, he's like a freight train, Mon. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, they said it, I guess, last week. Zach Taylor said it. He goes, the games you play in November and December are the ones that are, super important. They're all important, but that's the best time to get hot. Yes, injuries did play a part with a sluggish start, but has that been a blessing in disguise? Hasn't been, because let's face it, the Bengals are playing their best football in December, late November,
right.
And that leads right into the playoffs. And then guess what? Got us to a Super Bowl. Easily could have got us to another Super Bowl with a controversial game in Kansas City. But you know what? Let's look at it that way. Maybe it is a blessing in disguise because some teams start off so strong, and the next thing you know, they fall off a cliff a little bit.
Yeah.
We haven't had that. So, hey, listen, he's a warrior. He is a primetime player. We're just lucky to have him because what we saw last week is what we're going to see the next 10 weeks and further into the playoffs. So I'm excited about that. 6 games at home out of the final 10. Let's go on a big roll, baby. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, let's talk about the trade deadline because, again, like Timbo Slice there, 85, I think a lot of us are kind of confused. Why didn't the Bengals upgrade? Now, we don't know if there were calls made. I mean, we're not behind the scenes, so we don't know what was going on. But some big-time names have been moved, Mon. Chase Young going to San Francisco for a mid-round pick. I think a lot of Bengal fans thought maybe Chase Young would be a good fit for this Bengals defense. What about Kevin Byard going to the Philadelphia Eagles? Again, we talk about a veteran safety presence back there in that back end of the Bengals defense. Kevin Byard, maybe another guy there. We thought maybe there was some inkling that maybe that Hunter Henry might be on the Bengals' radar. That would have been, I think, an incredible pickup. Ace talked about Mike Gesicki maybe being on the radar as well. So we saw a lot of these teams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Jacksonville Jaguars going out and get Ezra Cleveland. Some of these teams, Buffalo going out and getting Rasul Douglas, although I don't think that's, as big of a pickup as some of those other guys. But these teams that are making this push, this playoff push, going out and adding to their rosters, and once again the Bengals stay pat. Mon, are you okay with this? Are you okay with the Bengals staying pat, or did you want to see the Bengals make some kind of a move?
I'm fine with it. I'm not surprised by it at all. No offense to anybody on Twitter, friends of ours, whatever. Chase Young is in the final year of his contract. He was drafted the same year as Joe Burrow. What's going to happen? I mean, I don't know if the Commanders picked up his option. If they did, that's 23 million next year. If the Bengals signed him or gave up a 3rd round pick and picked him up, who is he going to take? Sam Hubbard's spot? Is he going to take? I mean, what's going to happen? Yeah, he's a great player. He would make the Bengals better, but you could pretty much kiss T Higgins goodbye because they're going to have to pick up his
Yeah.
20 million next year. It's something. I get it. We're fans like everybody else, and trust me, we want that splashy move. I get it. Could there have been a low-level running back, a P. Ryan, somebody that's been on the roster before that could have worked in at, absolutely. I could, I was considering maybe that because with the issue with Chase Brown's hamstring issue. But, listen, the Bengals, all the guys on this roster, including Tanner Hudson, we're going to talk about in a few minutes, they started working out with this team in OTAs. The coaching staff knows them. They know this offense. And I think they felt like, hey, we're just going to roll with what we have instead of bringing in somebody from some other roster that's going to have to get sort of, he's handheld for a few weeks. So I think they just felt comfortable and they're going to roll with it. They decided to keep their picks. And I did find it interesting that people did call about T Higgins, though. So that's something to monitor in the offseason.
Yeah, again, I'll be honest with you, Mon. I don't see that happening. I think T Higgins is going to get franchise tagged. I don't think the Bengals want T Higgins to go anywhere. And I know you love the idea of not trading T Higgins, but you love the idea of making a move and getting a pick. And I completely understand that. I understand where you're coming from too, Mon, because you want to, the Bengals really haven't done a great job of getting something out of a player. They usually just let the player walk when it's over, and they really don't get anything back from it. So I completely understand that. Big love. They do trust Irv Smith. I feel the same way. I think one of those tight ends sitting out there, the Bengals should have made a move at tight end. I think that's the one position. I'm perfectly okay with not going to get Chase Young. I agree completely, Mon. You hit it on the head 100%. Why would you add him to this defensive line that's already one of the highest paid defensive lines in the NFL? Who are you going to sit? Chase Young is not better than Sam Hubbard. He's not better than Trey Hendrickson. He's not better than DJ Reader. Where is he going to fit in this defense? I want to say this. I really think that this Bengals coaching staff, they have built this culture, right? And I think a big part of adding somebody to your roster midway through the season, it can go two ways. It can either really boost your football team or it can really hurt your football team in the locker room, right? And I think the Bengals, I think that might have something to do with this, Mon, because this locker room has been so strong. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. The locker room, that's one of the best things about this Bengal team. I think it's just, strong, good culture, good leadership. I think Chase Young is a better athlete than Sam Hubbard. I don't think he's a better football player. Sam Hubbard maximizes his skills, and I think he's been a more productive pro than Chase Young. I want to make it clear about T Higgins. I don't want T Higgins traded. I want him to sign a long contract. I'm just saying if it gets to the point where the Bengals know they can't sign him, they have to try to get some draft capital out of him because that agent's tough. If they know they reach a point, they need to consider it. But, yeah, we'll see, man. But then I agree with you, Jake. Our locker room is special, and I don't think the Bengals wanted to disrupt anything with bringing somebody else in from the outside. I really don't.
I don't either. And I think, these last 2 years, we sat here at trade deadline and we said the same thing. Add this, Bengals, add this, Bengals, add this, Bengals. And they didn't. And we played in 2 AFC championship games. So I think there is something there that we have to trust in this coaching staff. But yes, Stuart, I want to hit on that really quick, Stuart, because you are right. Maybe they did show their cards if they trust Irv or not, because what happened today, they brought Tanner Hudson up to the 53-man roster. And now I think Tanner Hudson is that tight end that the Bengals think is going to come in and help bolster this offense. I think he's already either tied or he has more targets, and he's only played in 2 games. So Tanner Hudson being brought up today to the 53, Mon. They also signed a very, very familiar face in Clay Johnson, a special teams ace that we've seen the last couple years. Signed him to the practice squad. which shows maybe Akeem Davis-Gaither's knee is a little bit worse than they originally thought. I want to get your thoughts really quick, though, Mon. Tanner Hudson, is he our new tight end? And what do you think about Akeem Davis-Gaither and his injury? What's going on with that?
Well, Gaither actually practiced today. He was limited, so he's back on the practice field. So that's a good sign. I thought he was going to go on IR. He hasn't played in weeks, but he was actually practicing today. Listen, Tanner Hudson, when he has played, has made some, he's produced. He's done well. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer and everything. I'm glad he's on the team. He's earned it. He almost made the regular roster at the beginning of the season. But, man, on Twitter and social media, man, he's not Gronk, guys. Everybody needs to calm down a little bit. He's a good player that knows arguably our weakest position is tight end. He's going to come in and bolster it. I think he's probably the best receiving tight end we have. But right now we're carrying 4, which is, I think, a lot. But we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does. And a lot of fans are really excited about it. I'm happy for them.
Listen, I've always been a Tanner Hudson guy. I think you got to give the guy a shot. I think he's more dynamic. I think he brings a different type of weapon to this offense than the other 3 tight ends. I just do. I don't know how else to say that. I know Tanner is unknown said at this point Logan Wilson would make a great tight end. He's got some of the best hands on the team with his 10 interceptions. But yeah, I think it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see where Tanner fits into this offense. We saw some nice grabs in that Rams game across the middle, and that's really what we're missing, right? That's what we got from CJ Uzomah. That's what earned CJ Uzomah a big contract. That's what we got last year. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No. Go ahead.
Oh, that's what we got from Hayden Hurst last year. Same thing. We got that matchup, that linebacker tight end matchup between the hashes. That's what the Bengals have not had this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Tanner Hudson. But let's get to this Buffalo Bills team. Mon, this very interesting, right? This Bills team, very interesting this year. At times, they look like they're going to be drafting in the top 10. And then at other times, they look like they're going to be pushing to battle for the AFC. What are your first thoughts on this Buffalo Bills team as a whole? Are they going to cause the Bengals some issues, or are we going to see basically a replay of that divisional round playoff game last year?
I don't expect to have a total domination like that last year, that game in the playoffs, the playoff game. Buffalo has a lot of really good players. We have to be prepared for them. I'm glad it's at Paycor because that's going to help the Bengals out. You mentioned it perfectly. They've looked so bad, but in their wins, they have been phenomenal. 2 28-point wins. They have another win of 30-plus points. It's amazing. I mean, the games that they have won, they have pummeled those teams. And that's where, it feeds in. Look how good they are. But they've had some bad losses also. Of course, it starts with their quarterback. I mean, Jake, there are times he is just so strong, athletic. He can throw a ball through a cinder block. He is just that special. But then guess what happens? He's just erratic. His decision making, he's reckless in what he does. He's a turnover machine. He's gone 4 straight games with turnovers. The big knock on him coming out of Wyoming was he wasn't very accurate, and he just made these decisions, and we're seeing that in the pros. But again, the wow factor on him is unbelievable. But he'll give you he'll do a couple knucklehead things during the game, and we've seen that this year.
Very reckless with the ball, right? 17 touchdowns, but 8 interceptions. And I think more so, Mon, the recklessness comes from the way that he runs the football. This guy, again, don't get me wrong, he's a big dude. I mean, he's put together, but that's going to wear you down in this league, getting pummeled like that, taking shots like that every single game. I mean, it seems like every week this guy is on the injury report, right? And he's on the injury report again this week. Eric, if you'll throw the injury report up really quick, just so we can kind of see what happened today. But right now, Mon, Josh Allen questionable again with that throwing shoulder. You have some other guys here and there that did not practice for one reason or another, but this Bills team, Mon, is not really. I don't know, for some reason it's just not the same team that we've seen in the past. You can see right now for the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson did not practice, Tupou did not practice. Like you said, Akeem Davis-Gaither did practice, but at a limited role. Orlando Brown had probably a senior rest. Same with Joe Mixon. But let's scroll up there and let's look at that Buffalo Bills practice report right now. Again, this is Wednesday, so things could change. But Damar Hamlin, we know the story there. Elam, another defensive back. Rasul Douglas is the guy they just traded for. But Josh Allen is the one that really sticks out on that injury report right now with that right shoulder, with his throwing shoulder. I agree with you, Mon. This guy, he just plays so erratic that you can't really get a beat on him. And those are the kind of quarterbacks, Mon, that number one, they don't last very long in this league. And number two, they don't win the big games, right? Because they make terrible decisions at important times.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I'll say it. He's reckless. He throws his body around, and I mean, you got to salute him for wanting to win and his toughness. But who was a quarterback? Cam Newton. Cam Newton fell off a cliff because he was doing the same thing. He won a champion. He won an MVP with the Panthers, and his body just gave out on him because he was just literally throwing his body around. But you know what? That's an interesting injury report. Rasul Douglas was just traded for. He's a pretty solid defensive back. Giving up a third-round pick for him, that's quite a bit in return for the Packers there. Solid player. Elam, the player from Florida, is really in the doghouse there. The thing with the Bills right now, Jake, is Matt Milano, their star linebacker, one of the best in football, is out for the year. White, the defensive back, is out also. So they're arguably their two best players are out. But listen, they have some good defensive players. They got to be careful. They got a good pass rush. Cincinnati has to be ready for that. Buffalo's going to come in. They're licking their wounds because, they remember that game last year, the divisional game. They're going to come in. They're going to give the Bengals their best effort. So Cincinnati's got to be ready, and this coaching staff will have them ready.
And again, when we look at this Bills roster right now, Mon, it's definitely – and I don't want to downplay how good this Bills roster is because there are a lot of good players on it, but it's definitely not the same defensive front or even the front seven that we have been seeing. I don't really think you can even compare, especially after Milano went down. Rousseau in, Oliver inside. He's a tough player. Von Miller getting up there in age, but obviously, we don't do very well against Von Miller usually. But again, their front seven is really, I think, their weakness, to be honest. And I think the Bengals, this could be a game on where we get that 100-yard rushing game from Joe Mixon. I really do believe that the Bengals are going to be able to run the football against this defensive front. And obviously it helps with it being in Paycor. But this Bills offensive line has looked very shaky as well this year. So, again, when we talk about this Bengals team winning up front, this is a game that I think the Bengals are going to be able to control both fronts pretty easily, to be honest.
Yeah, they're going to have to play another good game, especially that offensive line, because Leonard Floyd has 6.5 sacks. Epinaza, the second-year player, I think I'm not for sure. It might be from Missouri. I'm not sure. Playing really well. Yeah. I forget what college he came from. I really thought the Bengals might consider him. He has 5 sacks. Ed Oliver has 5 sacks. Really good defensive tackle from Houston. They have a lot of talent on that defensive line, and they could cause some serious issues. Can't have a hangover. Got to practice hard and make sure we're ready for that. The game being at Paycor is going to help out tremendously. Of course, they got like Matt Milano's out, but still got Micah Hyde back there. They got Bernard has 2 interceptions. Micah Hyde has 2. So they still have some quality players. Who's the other safety? The Jordan Poyer's still there. So, they have a lot of players that have played a lot of snaps in the NFL. They're capable of making things tough. They beat a very good Miami team. They beat them badly. So
yes, I know.
They did. So, listen, Buffalo could come in and easily give us fits. Cincinnati has got to be prepared for it. But the way the Bengals played Sunday, I feel really, I don't want to say comfortable about it, but I'm confident that the Bengals have turned the corner and we're going to show up on national TV and take care of business.
Agreed. Taylor Rapp, I don't know if you mentioned him, but remember he was that other Rams safety that the Bengals were looking at. He's also on this roster. When they signed Nick Scott, they were looking at Taylor Rapp as well. And Epinesa is from Iowa. I just checked on it. Epinesa from Iowa. So he was a good pick. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Jake, let me read the Bills team stats real quick. It's pretty impressive. When it comes to scoring points, they're 4th in the NFL. They're averaging 27 points a game, their offense. Points allowed, they're 3rd in the NFL. Their defense is only giving up 17 points. That's their average. Net offense, total offense, the Buffalo Bills are 5th in the NFL at 376 yards a game. They're 14th rushing the ball at 113. Passing, they're 4th at 263. So Josh Allen has been slinging that ball. Defense, total defense, the Buffalo Bills are 13th. They give up 326 yards a game. They're 22nd rushing. Their opponents are rushing for about 122 yards against that defense. Passing the ball, they're 10th in the NFL. Their defensive backs have done a good job. The Buffalo Bills defense has given up about 200 yards a game passing to the opponents. Overall, good team stats for them. As I mentioned earlier, they've had some massive blowouts. They beat 2 teams by 28 points. They beat another team, I think the Raiders, by 30 plus. So their wins have been really lopsided. That helps out those team stats. Let's have a lopsided win for the Bengals this Sunday night.
Absolutely. And again, this is a team, though, this league is about quarterback play. And, Josh Allen reminds me a lot of Lamar Jackson, right, Aaron? He just can't win the big game. He just can't win the big game. So I agree, Aaron. Thanks, Lamar, for being 1-3 in the playoffs. But he's just like Lamar, right? He can't win the big game. And I think just like Lamar, we don't ever have to worry about Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen because our quarterback is so much better. And this league is about quarterback play. And we saw it last year. We saw it last year when this team had to go to Buffalo. And most of the pundits thought that the Buffalo Bills were going to walk away with a victory. And we all know how that ended. I'm with you. I'm very confident about this Bengals football team and the way they are playing football right now. Again, not to take anything away from the Buffalo Bills, but the Buffalo Bills having to come into Paycor on prime time is going to be a tough task for them. And let's talk about, too, what's going on at Paycor Sunday night, because we got the whole list of everything going on on Sunday night at Paycor. We know who the rulers of the jungle are. I think it's absolutely awesome that Clark Harris and Kevin Huber are going to be the rulers of the jungle on Sunday. Not only that, but at halftime, you have the Ken Riley Hall of Fame ring ceremony. They're striping out the stadium in orange and black. They're doing the light show again. It's just going to be an incredible night. Wish I could be there. But like you, I will be glued in front of the TV set. Very excited. I think this type of atmosphere is what we saw My wife and I went to the Buffalo Bills game last year, and obviously there was a very unfortunate situation that happened with Damar Hamlin, and thank God he's doing well and back playing football. But I will tell you, the beginning of that football game, that was the most electric I have seen that stadium in a very long time. And I feel like it's going to be the same way on Sunday night.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't at the game last year, but watching on TV, they showed pregame. It was very loud, and obviously we know what happened during that game. It's going to be crazy at Paycor. It's going to be loud, and it's just hard to beat the Cincinnati Bengals at that stadium right now. Jake, I want to go back. Eric, can you put up James's question real quick? He asked us a question. Yeah, James, I do think
Great question.
with a healthy Joe Burrow playing under center, I think it was 16 snaps total. It did open up the playbook. I think it caught the San Francisco 49ers off guard. Is it a coincidence? It's our best rushing of the season. The rushing game of the season was against the 49ers. So I expect him to continue that trend. And let's face it, they spent the or the bye week reflecting and trying to revamp that playbook. They probably got some other surprises coming. But great question, James. Thank you.
Yes, great question, James. I'll jump in real quick and just say that going under center and opening up the play action pass, there's a reason why Joe Burrow was able to complete 19 straight passes, right? Because not only does under center help you run the ball downhill, and it allows you to open up that GT guard pull and run some off balance and some counter and some power, but allows you to run play action, right, Mon? I mean, that opens up the entire playbook when you can do that.
Yeah, is it a coincidence that that's the best the offense has looked all year, and they had 16 snaps under center? Joe Mixon looked like he was shot out of a cannon. He looked revitalized, looked like a 22-year-old Joe Mixon. It was great to see, and as I said, those guys every year, Jake, we know during the Zach Taylor era, they always use that bye week and they tweak things, and they always come out of it, looking great. Like we talked about it a few years ago, they could not run the ball. They became one of the best running teams after the bye. I hope it continues this year. Great question, James, and I can't wait because I think we're going to have some more surprises coming over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I do too. More wrinkles in this offense. All right, Mon, let's get to our predictions. Let's see what we have going on. Let's because there are some big games this week. Titans at Steelers tomorrow night. Mon, you and I love watching the AFC North games, especially when they're on prime time. They're fun to watch because we will all be Titans fans on Thursday night. So come on, what's his name? Will Levis? Isn't that the quarterback now? Come on, Will. Come on, Will. Go into Pittsburgh and whoop that butt. All right, let's talk about this, Mon. Who do you got? Titans at Steelers tomorrow night.
Okay, my heart says the Titans win, but it's not going to happen. Will Levis, second start, and playing on the road in prime time in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been erratic. That's the word of this program. They just look so bad on offense, but then they'll string together a couple of good plays and make things really interesting. I don't know what's going on with Pittsburgh's quarterback situation. I think it's going to be a really ugly game. I think it's going to be like 21-17 Pittsburgh. If this game was played at 1 o'clock, I would potentially take the Titans, but it being in prime time, I just don't see it happening. Pittsburgh wins 21-17.
I'm going to go the same score, but I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip it on you, Mon. I'm going to say that Will Levis goes in and beats the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-17. I do think it's going to be an ugly football game. I will agree with you there. But I just think that this Titans team is built to win these AFC North games. And I know, obviously they beat us. They looked bad against the Cleveland Browns. But this team is built to be in these football games. And the Steelers right now are just not very good on offense. And I think Will Levis and this Titans offense can do enough. I agree, Unknown. I like Hopkins in this game. I think Hopkins has a big game and helps carries this Titans offense. So I'm going to say 21-17 Titans over the Steelers. All right, let's go to the next one here, Eric. And again, some big games. This one, again, not division wise, but AFC wise, Mon. This game is huge for seeding purposes later down the road. Dolphins at Chiefs in Germany. Finally, the Chiefs have to play somebody good. What happens, Mon, when they match up with the Dolphins in Germany?
The Dolphins they don't have a quality win. They haven't beaten anybody that's really had a great record. I think it changes. I think they're going to win. I Mahomes doesn't have the sniffles anymore. I'm sure he's going to be a lot better, a lot healthier. I just think the Dolphins are going to show up. They got a good defense. I think they'll handle the Chiefs in Kansas City or in Germany. I'm sorry.
All right. And I agree. I think the Dolphins, I think the Chiefs are going to start going down that road where, they're going to drop a couple games here and there. And I think this is one of them. I think the Dolphins win this game. I'm going to say 28-24. Dolphins beat the Chiefs in Germany. Go ahead.
I got 34-27. I never gave a score. I got the Dolphins 34-27.
I was about to ask you 34-27. I have 28-24. And yes, Belinda asked us a question. What are the chances that we see Kyle Allen at the helm for the Buffalo Bills? Josh Allen will be playing in this football game. I don't see Josh Allen missing this Bengals game, Belinda, but I do think it is going to be something to look at if the Bengals are able to get to him and get him down on the ground. Going to be very interesting to see. Olivia chimes in. I love it, Olivia. You did well, Mon. You did well. You raised your kids well, Olivia. Obviously, your daughter. Chiefs smells so bad. They do. That team is just a joke. Great job, Olivia, with that one. All right, Seahawks at Ravens. Mon, what do you got? What do you got in this Seahawks Ravens game? What do you see?
It's hard to beat the Ravens in Baltimore. They're a tough team. The Seahawks have a really good defense. They bolstered it with a big trade. They got Williams from the Giants. He's a great defensive lineman. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one. I'm going to take the Seahawks. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I got this 21-17 Seahawks over the Ravens in an upset. Hello, Aaron. How are you?
Yes, Aaron. How are you? Because I think the Seattle Seahawks dominate this football game. I'm going to say Seahawks win this football game 24-14. This Ravens team is not what Aaron and the rest of the Ratbird fans think it is. I think, again, this is a team that we're going to see what they do every year, and that is start to crumble as the season goes along. The Seahawks are a very good football team, and I see them going in and beating the Ravens, and I think they'll win handily. Cardinals at Browns, and of course, the Cleveland Browns get the Cardinals when they are an absolute mess right now. What do you got here? Cardinals at Browns. What do you got, Mom?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns. Clayton Tune, his first start in the NFL, if it's him or Kyler Murray coming back from an ACL. The Browns are going to win this game like 10-8. That's what I have. I have the Browns winning 10-8. 10-9.
10-9. Oh, this will be the first time I think I've picked them. I'm with you. I mean, of course, the Browns get the Cardinals when they're just in complete disarray right now. I would love the Cardinals to win. Actually, you know what? Mom? I'm going to talk this one into existence. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Cardinals because I'm going to talk this into existence. Cardinals win 14-10 in a football game that will set the NFL back 50 years because it will be so bad to watch, especially if it's PJ Walker versus Mr. Tune. I do know that Deshaun Watson did practice this week. All right. What do you think? And yes, an Unknown makes a very good point. Thank you, Unknown. The Cards did keep that game close against the Ravens, Mon. Don't forget that. The Cards kept the game close. So I'm talking it into existence. All right, the big one, the only one that matters, Mon. the Bills at the Bengals. Again, a team that we saw in the divisional round last year, a team that the Bengals – and don't forget this, before Damar Hamlin's injury, the Bengals up and down the field on the Bills as well. Who do you got, Mon? Bills at Bengals in Paycor.
The Bengals are going to win this game. There's no way they're going to lose. I think Buffalo will score some points. I see the Bengals getting a couple key turnovers. Game's going to be 38-21. Cincinnati's going to win pretty handily.
Okay. All right.
I feel very confident. Very confident.
I do too. I'm going to say 35-17. The Bengals win. Vanguard wants to know, why do I feel the Bengals win all their games?
I'm not going to go there, but it could happen.
Bengals, I feel it. I feel it. I mean, how can we not feel it, Mon? This team is a team last year that went through the toughest stretch of a schedule of anyone last year and won 10 in a row. If anyone can do it, our Bengals can. The Bengals will beat the Bills 35-17. I think they win this game handily. And again, I think that this Bills team, Mon, is a good football team, and I think they will be competing at the end of the season, but I just don't think they are built to beat the Bengals.
Yeah, it's listen, I think the Bengals have a better roster, better team. The Bills have had some really massive injuries on defense. It's a shame. But Milano is one of the best linebackers in football. White's a great cornerback. That's why they made the move to get Rasul Douglas. I mean, he's a good player, but you're going to give up a third-round pick for him? I don't know. I don't know. I think that was a little bit of a panic move. He's capable of playing well, but I think the Bengals match up really well. I think they're the better team. And that general manager for the Bills, I remember that comment he made after the loss last year. You know,
Yeah,
he says
what was that about? What was
yeah,
that
he's
about?
just, you know, snidey comment. You know, listen,
Snidey, you know,
you had
you
had Josh Allen. You had Josh Allen on a rookie contract. You had all these
Yeah.
other stars. I'm sorry you didn't maximize their that window. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I trust me. That's on the Bengals bulletin board. Trust me, that is.
Oh, no doubt it is.
Yeah.
No doubt it is. And real quick before we leave, Stuart did ask about the matchup against Kincaid. I do think that's going to be an interesting matchup because Kincaid having his first touchdown last week, that could be a very interesting matchup. But we've seen this year those Bengals linebackers able to drop in coverage and make big time plays. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for all the great content and comments. We appreciate you guys so much. Mon and I, again, we're so humbled that you guys tune in and listen to us. We appreciate all of you. Thank you guys so much. And this is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Give us a follow on Twitter. Mon at The Fire Mon, me at Coach Jake Owens 9, Eric at eFlash with 2 H's 88. The Cincinnati Pod at Cincinnati Pod, and the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. On Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. Make sure you listen to us on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. If you like this podcast, make sure you give Mon and I that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. And as always, tune in to all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. He is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you very, very soon and be celebrating another great win. Hoo day, Bengal fans.
Sorry,